Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia. We're going to do an article on wives who regret ever leaving their marriage. That's wives who regret ever leaving their marriage. So let's get started, shall we? And it's written by Bunmi Shafola. You get to a crossroads in your life and the road you decide to take could shape your life forever, for better or worse. Some 20 years ago, Jennifer, a dentist, had an affair which broke up her marriage to a man she had fallen in love with since they met at medical school. So she's chosen to choose another man over the person that she was married to. Crazy stuff. I mean, honestly, if you're going to say the vows, follow through with them. I don't understand it. People spend all this money and waste all this time getting married, and then they don't even live up to what they've asked or said they were going to do. And they don't think people notice, but people notice. I mean, people get afraid of people who interfere in marriage, the principles of marriage. People don't want to be around those types. So this woman's been married, Jennifer, and she had an affair and pulled a family to pieces, broke up the marriage to a man she'd fallen in love with since they met at medical school. So why is she feeling so remorseful after all these years? This is the funny thing about it, isn't it? They'll run with it while they can, and then when things go bad, they go into this remorse and regret. The simple answer is, she said, I want forgiveness. It's a word I have considered a great deal in the last few years. Well, all of a sudden, she's not worried about who she never worried about who she harmed or maimed or the consequences of her actions, whatever the reasons might have been. But now she's seeking forgiveness. I didn't find it hard to forgive the women that I married that wrecked it all up. That wasn't hard for me. It's a word I've considered a great deal, and I hope that by saying sorry for all the hurt and pain I have caused in the past, I can convey how strongly I regret what I did, and that John, my ex, will be able to forgive me. In my heart, I have crafted a letter of remorse to John, and it reads. Well, I wonder viewers? I wonder what caused a change of her heart to go down this road. Usually it's pain and loss. As I said, I haven't read this article, but we'll find out. It all seems like yesterday when we were both fresh-faced undergraduates at medical school, the whole of our lives stretching uncertainly before us. We had what I call an on and off relationship for a few years, but we became serious after my 21st birthday party. Very young, isn't it? My parents and siblings loved you, and we began talking about the future together and our final year. We quickly got engaged when we started work. You with a private hospital whilst I remained at teaching hospital. 2 years later we got married and began building our life together as a married couple. I was the happiest woman in the world when I said my vows. God knows I meant them. Well, you got to follow up with them, don't you? Well, it's no good standing there saying the vows and then and considering the consequences of those vows to get down the road and go, I wish I'd never done that. I never ever thought I'd betray you the way I did. At first, marriage life was all I dreamt it to be. I thought of you as my partner in crime, and I know you felt the same way. Our house was always open to friends and family, as we loved having them around. You never forgot my birthday or our anniversary, but it wasn't about showy gifts. It was the small thoughtful gestures too, like being a huge help in the house, even offering to cook meals when I became pregnant. Yet I threw it all away. How could I have been so stupid? Well, at least she's taken a moment to reflect on what possibly could have caused this. Now, at this point, I'm going to turn to the scriptures. And I just want to point out some things that not many people realize about themselves. This is a universal part of the fabric of the way in which a human is made. Now, Jesus said never make vows and never promise, because of the nature that you have, they'll be very hard to follow through with, and he was right. That's not in all cases, but in most cases. But what a lot of people don't understand is there's a rebel inside us, or an evil rebel, that takes opportunity by the things we think we need to do or not do to be good or bad, or to make God happy and stop him from being sad. Our evil nature likes to empower itself with the good things that we think we're going to do to make somebody happy or stop them from being sad, particularly God. Now, you might not agree with that. That's your business. And you're entitled to that. But I believe what this says, and I believe that it actually is true. Because the old arts, the old value systems and that, as we drift further away from them, these principles are becoming more apparent as the divorce rates rise and separations are on the rise, families are breaking down, and those type of cultures are diminishing. Our evil nature takes opportunity in the Christian realm by the things we think we're going to do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. That's a I do and you reward mentality, or I do and you punish. That's going to inspire our evil nature to do evil. Sin taking opportunity by the commandment, right? Well, what did it do? It produced all manner of evil desire. Now, Paul knew this because he was a Pharisee who tried to do all the good things, but he ended up just running around murdering people, which is what he thought God wanted, but it wasn't. And that's just one scripture of many what we need to understand is part of the cause behind these silly decisions that people make after they've made the marriage vows. It's not, you better to go in the spirit of things and flow on, so that when your evil nature attacks your decision making, you can be prepared for it and know that the Spirit will lead you back out of it without being too influenced by your evil nature, which is what happened to this woman. What and how could I have been so stupid? She's asked herself this question she doesn't know the answer to, but I've possibly just given it to you. But sin, taking opportunity by the commandment, produced all manner of evil desire. That's what it will do. If you make too many promises, there's something in our nature that will rebel against those promises at some point and cause you to go against what you've promised. The good that you've promised and the good that you've done will be undermined by the nature inside you, which is repulsed by that if it gets influence over you, which it does by being too devoted. You were a great father to our daughter, and when you got a better job, it came with living quarters, and it was perfect. Sadly, I wonder what he did for a job. Sadly, you complained of being unhappy in your job, and in the end, you just resigned. We had to live in rented accommodation, and money was tight. Our rows were huge and explosive. Oh, so when the money goes, the trouble starts, because women don't like this kind of pressure. Angry and resentful, I set myself on a destructive path which led me into the arms and bed of a colleague. And this is usually the case, isn't it? It's usually best friend, a friend, colleague, something like this, familiarity. Of course, I don't blame you for how I reacted. It was my entire doing. Well, that's taking accountability, isn't it? I don't blame you for how I reacted. It was entirely my doing. And this could be combined with subconsciously what I just said, or a million other things. But occasionally I wonder what might have happened if you'd only talked to me about quitting your job first. So he didn't ask, he just did it, which isn't right. I would have supported you, but she resented him for not telling her. And this is something that men can break down in. They have to be transparent, and we have to communicate. There was a consultant I'd worked with for years who was constantly flirting with me. I was very attracted to him, but always rebuffed his advances, telling him I was happily married, which I was. Now listen. These are the type of people bouncing around in our communities that couldn't care less about the sanctity of marriage. They'll approach people that are married or not. This is the evil that's floating around out there. But one day after you called me at work complaining about the owner of the clinic you now work for, Dar came into my office and found me crying. He took me to lunch to calm me down, and that's how it began. Now, she didn't have to go to lunch, but he got her when she's vulnerable, and this is what these Casanova types do. They go around preying on the weak-willed and disadvantaged, vulnerable people, women as well. One lunch turned into several lunches, which turned into evenings out, planned around your night duties, and eventually into a full-blown affair. In other words, they started having sex. And because of your erratic schedule at work, it wasn't too difficult to hide what I was up to. Now, this is something that a lot of men need to understand. Women will make these affairs happen around our absence from home. They hide within the times that we spend doing other things that they know will keep us busy and away from home, or they'll make these affairs happen around those times so they don't get caught. It's no excuse, but Dar caught me at a low point in our marriage. I was vulnerable, all right, but I could have said no, and that's exactly right. But she didn't, did she? Temptation got the better of her. I was absolutely looking for something that would make me feel good, something to take my mind away from the stress and tension at home. Well, she found it, another man's penis. Is that the answer, ladies and gentlemen? Another man's penis to this kind of problem? Well, it seems to be encouraged today, doesn't it? It seems to be, if you're having stress and tension at home, just go and sleep with somebody else. That'll fix the problem, and it'll also destroy your family. But that doesn't matter as long as you feel better. That's why these people shouldn't, get married. They're not capable of keeping the marriage or working through the pressures that come with it. They don't want to know about that. They want to stay in the honeymoon phase, which it just doesn't work like that. In fairness to the man she was having a relationship with, he wasn't just a meaningless affair. Oh, now we're trying to justify it. I fell in love with him. Well, you usually do. If somebody is sleeping with somebody, you usually do have greater affection towards them, even though I was still in love with the husband. So this woman's got the two going. Those who never... See, she'd be out sleeping with another bloke and then coming home and sleeping with her husband. Now, I don't know how you describe that, but to me, that's filthy. Absolutely filthy rotten. Those who never been in my position will say it's impossible to love two people at the same time, but I know it's not. I knew I should stop seeing the man I was having an affair with, but an affair is like a drug. It's addictive. That doesn't justify it. Affair's evil. Simple as that. She became a slut. Her mind had degenerated. It was stressful living a double life, but the highs of an affair meant I kept going back. Now, so that's the adrenaline and all that other stuff, dopamine getting triggered, and she was loving the doses of it. Now with hindsight, I still can't believe I did it. It's a mistake I've learned from, but at the time I was in too deep. No, she wasn't in too deep. She just got addicted to the dopamine. She said that here. She got addicted to the rebellion. And that's what sin is. It loves rebellion. It loves destruction. Excuse me. Meanwhile, my relationship with you was deteriorating. Well, what would you expect? I wouldn't say it would have been flourishing. She's ruining it. We'd stopped communicating and laughing and became distant. That's because he would have been picking up somewhere in his subconscious something was wrong. My behaviour must have aroused your suspicion. A few months later, mutual friends at a teaching hospital let you know what was going on, and I couldn't lie out of your accusation to save my life. When you asked if I was having an affair with so-and-so, I was petrified because I knew the next words to come out of my mouth were going to break our marriage, and they did. The disgusting look on your face made me feel so small. I couldn't have hurt you more if I'd stuck a knife in your back. At first we thought we could work it out. It was a huge relief for me to admit to the affair, as I'd been living a lie. And this is the point. These people these women, these men, they don't care about living a lie if they're getting their rocks off, and they don't care about who they hurt. I couldn't have hurt you more. Well, she didn't care about that at the time, did she? She didn't care until she got caught. But one big hurdle standing in our way was that I still had to work with Da as a couple. We couldn't afford me to quit my job, so I continued to work in the same hospital, but told the boyfriend we had to cool things. Unfortunately, that was harder than I expected. I really did love having sex with him. They're not putting that in there, but that's it. She loved having sex with him. Seeing him every day fanned the flames, and the affair reignited a few weeks later. Eventually, you could take no more, and when you told me you could no longer trust me, we agreed our marriage was over. Well, she didn't care about the marriage, did she? She wanted to push on with the affair. She wanted the person with the cock outside the marriage. I know that's a horrible way to say it, but that's just how it was. Eventually, you could take no more. Okay, I failed it. I ruined it. But she didn't care, did she? Because she kept fanning the flames of the affair at work. I'd let you and our daughter down, my family too, and I'd let myself down. With the boyfriend's help, I was able to live in one of the flats on the hospital premises, as we agreed on a clean divorce. Still, when I got the divorce papers, I saw you cited adultery. It hurt. Well, that's what it was, wasn't it? It was just filthy, dirty, rotten adultery. I don't blame you, though. What a sad ending to our love story. She absolutely ruined and destroyed, to her shame, what apparently was a good marriage. The boyfriend and I were together 15 years afterwards, although we chose not to have more children, as he already had 3 of his own. For a good few years after my divorce, I carried a huge amount of guilt, and it took me a while to feel happy again. But I am now. Oh, well, that all makes it right. Somehow she found a way out anyway. Sadly, the boyfriend and I drifted apart and separated 4 years ago. Inevitably, I reflected on whether breaking up from you had been worth it, but I'd had many good years with the boyfriend, and I hoped that you were happy too. Through snippets of information from friends and our daughter, I learned that your second marriage was good, or is good. I truly hope that that's the case. You were a decent husband to me. So he didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve her lack of character and fortitude. He didn't deserve to be on the end of her lust and evil. But she didn't care about that. She put him there and moved and kept going with it. So why am I feeling so remorseful now? 3 years ago I was here we go. 3 years ago I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had both breasts taken off or out. It was touch and go, but after a grueling treatment, I am now in remission. I have no cancer symptoms and am living my life to the full. Selfishly, I thought that you might want to know I had cancer, but then our daughter must have told you. What did I expect you to do about it? All I want is for you to forgive me, and I'm sure you have. In return, I hope you are healthy and happy, and you deserve to be. So, there's another case, ladies and gentlemen, of somebody that got caught in the deceit of Ephesians 4:22, that you put off concerning your former conduct the old man which grows corrupt according to deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. So you can renew your mind while these lusts are attacking you. But you can't do it if you're submitting to the lusts. You have to submit to the Spirit. And these lusts will go corrupt in the conduct of trying to make God happy or stop him from being sad, or living in that realm where everything you do is to make somebody happy or stop them from being sad. You're just going to be caught in deceitful lust like that woman, which is essentially what Paul's trying to warn against in Romans chapter 7. So like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment, and I thank you for joining me for this article on this poor woman that destroyed her marriage. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.